Raging peace at a full gallop.
Hey.
Wapushu te chumna. My name is Octina Amivawannahe. That
Okay.
means the bottom of the river.
Okay.
Raging peace at a full gallop.
Harry up to is he has been rescuing Sitting Bull's horses, and why don't you get a little bit into that? And
Sure, I can tell you that Sitting Bull was a medicine man, and he had the visions and dreams about the Battle of Little Bighorn, you know, Custer's last stand, before it happened. And he was down in South Dakota, but then he moved up to the Cheyenne Reservation now and had a Sundance right before the battle. And in his vision, he saw soldiers falling upside down from the sky. But at the same time, Black Elk had a vision about the horses coming in the four directions. Only Sitting Bull was a man, and Black Elk was only 8 years old, and the whole tribe acted out his vision. And there was a lot about the horses coming. He said that there's a horse nation coming throughout the universe. May you behold them prancing, they are coming, may you behold them. Well, Sitting Bull had the Sundance right before the battle of Little Bighorn, and right across from where the Sundance was, with many bands of natives, different bands, is a place called Medicine Deer Rock. And on that rock is etched Sitting Bull's vision. And I happened to go there with a man named Philip Whiteman Jr., who was trains horses in a medicine wheel way. It just turned out that the day I got there, he was heading out to Medicine Deer Rock. So we went out there and we entered in a sacred manner. Every now and then he'd stop the rig and get out and say a few prayers, and then we'd continue. And we got to this big rock standing there. And we got out and there was sand all around the rock. And there was footprints of different animals in there, but there was no animals around. And as we walked around, I looked up and he pointed up, and there was a red-tailed hawk in the form of the rocks. And we went a little further and there was a turtle. Went a little further and there was a buffalo appeared. And finally there was an owl. But while we were walking under that, there was the vision etched in there of the Sundance and the sweat lodges and the gathering and the tribes. And then the battle and the soldiers falling upside down from the sky. And on until the very end of the vision etched on the Medicine Deer Rock, there's a spaceship landing and a spaceship taking off. So Sitting Bull, after the Battle of Little Bighorn, escaped into Canada, and he lived up there for 4 years, and his horses multiplied. But then the Canadians kicked him out of Canada, made him come back into the U.S., and he surrendered in northwestern North Dakota, which isn't too far from my Turtle Mountain Chippewa reservation. Well, they shot his horses and confiscated them, but some made it into the little Missouri Badlands of North Dakota, which became Teddy Roosevelt National Park, and they lived in there as wild horses for 100 years, until the 1980s, when the U.S. Park Service started shooting them again and selling them for slaughter and eradicating them out of the park. But these two North Dakota ranchers realized that that was Sitting Bull's strain and started saving that strain from being slaughtered and shot. And they accumulated a big herd of about 250. And over the years, now we have 600 of Sitting Bull horses in North Dakota on a 12,000 acre ranch. And we have to they live there all year round, but at the end of winter, we have to feed them. So they come in around the ranch, and it's like a mandala of horses. And they're hanging out there until spring happens, and then they start having babies. And every morning we'd get up at the crack of dawn, and this guy that watches the ranch, Leo Kuntz, he doesn't like to wear shoes, so we get up every day at the crack of dawn and run barefoot through the prairie, through 600 wild horses to check all the new babies that were born that night. And every night 8 or 9 or 10 were born, and we had to go out there and make sure they were okay. And then every day there was 8 or 9 or 10 more born, and every day it would multiply day after day, prancing ponies all around. It's beautiful, and anybody is welcome to come and be part of that, because we're working on promoting that strain to keep it alive and going. But in Cowboy and Indian magazine, they wrote an article about that. And in the article, it said one of our dreams is to start a Native American polo team on Sitting Bull's horses. Well, somebody sent me that article, and I called them up, and I told them that I've been playing polo for almost 21 years, putting my teepee on the side of polo fields, counting coup on the aristocrats. And I said, I think I can do that. So I got invited out there, and that's when I got there in the spring and got to meet the horses and the babies being born.
When was that?
It was 3-4 years ago. And so then my job became starting this Native American polo team on Sitting Bull's horses. So I went down to South Dakota, the Pine Ridge Reservation, which is the poorest place in the United States. And I brought wild rice and maple syrup. I repaired rickety porches and clotheslines and wheelchair ramps for elders. And I juggled, so I juggled the nursing home and the daycare. So if you go somewhere and you juggle at the daycare and the nursing home, pretty soon the whole place is yours, because you know all the kids and all the old people. And they say, well, he's not bad. And then I got involved with the Dakota war pony races. And all the races depict the Battle of Little Bighorn, like Rescue a Downed Warrior and Wounded Warrior races. And the main race is on June 25th in Manderson, South Dakota, on Wounded Knee Creek, is the Lakota War Pony races. The Hip Hop Hemp Hoedown with the Organimus Kitchen, partially sponsored by High Times magazine. And the reason they're involved is because we grow a patch of industrial hemp there every year for a cottage industry, but the federales come every year and take it away with machine guns. They're not allowing a sovereign nation to grow industrial hemp as a cottage industry, so we're having to take it to international court. But we have that rally on June 25th, the Lakota War Pony races, the Hip Hop Hemp Hoedown with the Organibus Kitchen. And so I've been roaming out on reservations and introducing polo and horses. And the thing about polo is that it's a tribal game that comes from Mongolia.
That's right.
And the Mongolians, they invented the stirrup, conquered most of the world on horseback, drank fermented mare's milk, and they made the walls of their houses out of felt, which is dreadlock technology, dragging it behind their horses. And it's a powerful thing. It's like you can sleep on the earth and not freeze, or the snow. The wind can't blow through it. You can drop a coal on it and it won't burn. It's because it's not woven. It was before weaving, and weaving little patterns of, of string woven together makes little pockets of air in there, so the wind can get through. And if you drop a coal on it, it'll burn because of the oxygen in there. But felting is part of that. The Mongolian thing,
Who taught you to felt? I noticed you have all those felt.
I met a guy that knew how to felt, and one winter I lived with him, and he taught me how to felt, and I taught him how to play polo.
Oh, nice.
But they invented the stirrup and all that, but they also played a game that teaches you how to be a warrior on a horse that evolved into polo. And so it was originally a tribal game, and I'm bringing it. And the history of polo is like Mongolia, Bushkazi, the game that evolved from polo evolved from. And then it was in China and Tibet and down into Afghanistan and Persia and then to India. And then centuries later, the English found it in India. And they took it back to England and spread it all over the world. And now the best players are from Argentina. But I'm taking it the next step in the evolution of polo. I'm taking it to the North American plains where they proved their horsemanship many times and rallying up a Native American polo team. And I've got 600 Sitting Bull horses to do it with.
Wow.
So I've been roaming around the reservations introducing this ancient game to them and teaching felting as well. And I thought I was just going to be doing this in North and South Dakota, but I put it out on the internet, Return of the Horse Nations, and it caught on all over the world. I've been invited to Kyrgyzstan, which is the other side of Afghanistan and this side of Mongolia, where they still and what happened there was that the Russians overtook them and shot and confiscated their horses, but now they're a new republic. And they're returning to their horse and felting culture. And they heard about my horses, which is Sitting Bull's horses really, but that were shot and confiscated by the U.S. government. So we had that common thread, and so they've invited me and some native riders, including Winona LaDuke from the White Earth Reservation, who ran for vice president of the United States twice with Ralph Nader for president on the Green Party, and wrote a book called The Last Standing Woman, and started the Indigenous Women's Network. Well, she's been to Kyrgyzstan because she's kind of a third world icon and different because of her, her freedom fighting ways. And so we're going to go there this coming October. We've been invited there as an indigenous delegation of native riders to go to their horse festival in Kyrgyzstan.
Oh, beautiful.
And so then we also, Pakistan and India invited this native team to come there when we get it together. And Argentina, where the best players are, has invited us to come down and train. And we're trying to put all this together, but it's slow, just to inch it along. But we got high hopes.
I've seen you working on it for a couple years now. I've seen you come through town with some people on horses and leave on horses.
Yeah, I've been saying you can give a dog a bone, but I say give a kid a horse and then make him want more. Because in polo, you need a fresh horse every 7 minutes to play a game. 4 to 6 horses. And you need a string of horses that are ready to take you into battle, sword fighting on horseback, 10 feet high and 35 miles an hour on a field 10 times bigger than a football field.
That's right.
It's addictively fun. And I'm just trying to get that horse connection and diction to all the kids and tribes we can, because it's such a powerful thing to, that connection. I mean, I just saw Avatar, and there was that connection between the avatar and the horse creature.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what I'm trying to bring. There's this powerful connection between a human and a horse. All of a sudden you can have 4 mighty legs and 2 radar ears, and you can fly across the earth and stop and turn, and it's a beautiful thing. And so I think I've been going around promoting that and trying to make it happen.
So you've been traveling to different rainbow gatherings, and right now we're in Sedona.
And reservations.
And you've been through Sedona here a couple times. And
I came to Sedona a year ago for the Return of the Ancestors gathering.
Right.
And they returned. There was 500 shamans and spiritual people that all showed up, and we spent a day in Sedona, and then we went out to Cottonwood and built sweat lodges, took sweats for 2 days, and then all 500 of us went to Hopi land, Apache land, and Navajo, and brought some really good energy. In my process of all this, we put a tour together called the Touch the Earth Tour. We had a cat named Singing Bear who sang conscious music, and we did a raw food kitchen, and we spoke. We went from Seattle to San Francisco to San Luis Obispo to LA. And then we did a raw food tailgate party at the opening of polo season in Indio, California at the El Dorado Polo Club. And then we took it to the Obama inaugural.
Oh, nice. You've been
there
everywhere.
was 3 million people there, and nobody got arrested.
Oh.
But part of the reason I went to the inaugural was 2 days after the inaugural. I was going to meet with the Bureau of Land Management about their horse policy with Dennis Banks. Well, we got there was 3 million people and nobody got arrested, but I was trying. I was going to steal a cop's horse and have a high-speed chase through town, but the horses were too slow. I had it back before they knew it was gone. But I did sneak into the Native American inaugural ball, and I got to meet some of my Native heroes, including Gary Farmer, the actor, in the movie Pow Wow Highway, which is a beautiful movie about the Northern Cheyenne, who were called the Beautiful People. It was produced by George Harrison, and the music was by Robbie Robinson and U2. So I met Gary Farmer from that movie Pow Wow Highway, and I've had this idea for a while, a couple different producers and movie people and documentaries are interested in doing a story about what I'm up to, and anyway, I had some ideas about it, and so I met Gary Farmer, Fat Filbert in the movie Pow Wow Highway, and I told him that I was going to make a movie, a sequel to Pow Wow Highway, and it's about a Native American polo team rising up, and I was going to call it Wow Pow Way High. We're going to put the pow in your wow.
And you're gonna play against
the idea is to get my Native American polo team good enough, and we can to challenge Prince Charles and his children.
Yeah.
And see, Prince Charles is really into organic food and slow food, and so is Winona LaDuke. So they ended up at the same meeting.
Wow.
So I have this Prince Charles connection that way. But for 2 years, I played polo for Major Ronald Ferguson, Fergie's father, who was Prince Charles' polo manager and trainer for 22 years. And he came to the U.S. to do tournaments, polo tournaments, but polo tournaments are benefits for charity. So we did one on the Yakima Indian Reservation, and we raised $55,000 one weekend playing polo for the Native American College. And, having a celebrity like him come in. But I got hired to be on his team, and I made 5 goals the first day and got him in the finals with my teepee on the side. But anyway, so I do have these two, through Major Ferguson. He was Prince Charles' polo manager. Winona Duke, organic food and slow food. There's just 2 directions I can come and actually challenge him. And so what I did before was, I threw out this challenge to Prince Charles. The Return of the Horse Nations. Just threw it out there, and it took off all over the world. So I'm hoping that if I can get this challenge together, send it out there, it'll get so big that Prince Charles and his children will be too embarrassed not to accept the challenge.
Well, it is getting there.
But I've been going, to roaming around these reservations, but I bring juggling and yoga and nutrition and alternative energy. But mostly I plug them into horses and the excitement and beauty and of that connection.
So I came into the coffee shop today, and I see a van loaded with skins and poles, and it's you. So where are you going with all these teepees?
Well, we started a little teepee business, and Sagebrush Teepee Works, and we're making teepees out of hemp. And so the thing is that after they shot all the buffalo and we couldn't do that anymore, they came in covered wagons, and they were covered with hemp. And so we used the covers of the wagons to make our teepees. But then, as cotton people got involved, and they started making canvas, which is, and the word canvas comes from the word cannabis. But it was all hemp before, and cotton is a really
I didn't know that.
It's a plant that they have to use so many chemicals and pesticides on that it kills the earth wherever it grows, and nothing else can grow there. So cotton isn't that hip.
No.
So canvas that has cotton in it, that we've been making hemp. It's all natural. It swells up in the rain so that the rain runs off. It's a great, superior product. And so we've been making hemp teepees. And last year we made 10 painted teepees and took them to the Rothbury Music Festival in Michigan. That was pretty fun because the headliners were Bob Dylan, Willie Nelson, and the Grateful Dead. And then we took 5 teepees to Burning Man We had a village of 11 teepees there, and we did ceremony every day there. And then we took 5 teepees to Golden Gate Park and put them up in San Francisco for the 40th anniversary of the Woodstock concert. And 2 years before that, I took horses and teepees to Golden Gate Park in San Francisco for the 40th anniversary of the Summer of Love. And I rode my horse out in front of the stage, and they smudged all 4 hoofs of the horse I was on and put the prayers in the horse's hoofs. And I pranced in a circle while they sang and drummed, and I proclaimed the return of the horse nations.
That's right.
And we sent a message of peace and love to the world in front of over 100,000 people, and it was podcast all over the world.
Right.
But then this last trip we're on, we came down in December for the 7th Council of the 13 Indigenous Grandmothers. And we brought a teepee for that. That was the Moon Lodge. We had 18 women in there, or 28 women. It was packed. But then this most recent trip, why I'm here now, is because at the Rothbury, Michigan Festival, the people who put the Gathering of Nations powwow in Albuquerque, New Mexico, it's like the biggest powwow of all, ordered 4 painted teepees from us. So we were in Washington like a little over a week ago and headed down with over 100 teepee poles on top of our van. I just peeled 100 teepee poles to get this ready, and I put them up in my backyard in my little town of Chihuahua, and they were reaching out up in the sky, just the frames without the skins, and they were just reaching out up into the sky saying native culture is still here. The field behind me, the kids started playing Indian and chasing buffalo, and the neighbors knew that all were curious, and the nuns got nervous, and it was pretty impacting just doing that. But we took they asked us to come to the Topanga Canyon Earth Day Festival, and we brought teepees for that event, and they let us put our teepee up as a booth. And so we put all the other teepees up, and then by then it was a hot part of the day, and there was hardly any shade in the middle of the field there where we put our teepee up, and we got it all ready, but made it cozy inside, opened the door, and 3 nursing mothers came in and laid down and nursed their mothers. It was like we opened the womb.
Nice.
It was a beautiful sight. And so after that gathering in Topanga Canyon, we went the next weekend to Albuquerque, New Mexico for the Gathering of Nations powwow. We put 4 painted teepees up on either side of the stage, and it was beautiful. It was a glorious thing. And now I'm working my way back up to Washington to make more teepees.
Right.
Gathering the forces to save the horses. I'm waging peace at a full gallop, and I'm bringing ponies back to the ceremonies.
That's right.
The one thing I would like to mention is that in D.C., when I was there after the inaugural, 2 days later, I went to the Bureau of Land Management office. We got invited to talk to them because we heard about their horse policy. And Dennis Bakes asked me to come along because I have my knowledge of horses. And so we went up into this Federal Bureau of Land Management office building. It was like going in an airport. All the security. Went up to this big room with this big table, and with all these bureaucrats and politicians in the Bureau of Land Management, and they laid out their policy, which we already knew, but that in the 10 western states, there's almost 300,000 wild horses running free out there. But they had rounded up 35,000 of them and had them in holding pens. And their next policy was to slaughter them. That's what we went to talk to them about.
We went through that last year here in Arizona.
So I just come off the raw food conscious music tour there.
Okay.
And I went there, and so after he said that, I said, well, how many cows are on Bureau of Land Management land?
Right.
And he said there was millions and millions and millions of cows, and the reason they want not enough room for horses is because they want more room for cows. And so I said to him, well, don't you think you'd be better off if you rode a horse instead of ate a cow? And everybody laughed. And then I told them a story about how horses were our relatives, and that they should run free. I made him laugh and I made him cry, and we stopped him from slaughtering 35,000 wild horses. And now they've opened up some land in Nevada and Colorado, and they're going to turn them loose, but they're politicians and bureaucrats, so we have to keep on them to pressure them to really do what they say they're going to do. And so that was really exciting to be part of, and I feel really good about that. But but I think the answer, like it came out in Avatar for me, is that connection between the horse and the human. It's, you can take a really challenged child and a rowdy horse and put them together, and that horse will be mellow for that challenged child. And so a lot of challenge therapeutic programs and horses, they know that this connection is healing and powerful. They are our relatives, and they're here to help us. And so we're just rallying the forces to save the horses. They helped us build this whole country,
Yeah, no doubt.
And they just want to slaughter them. It's crazy.
You're right. They are.
And so if we did have, I was thinking we should start the raw food wild horse revolution, because if we ate more raw food and less cows, there'd be more room for wild horses.
Are you a raw food person as well?
I'm a raw food enthusiast,
Oh,
but
I didn't know that
I eat everything.
Yeah.
I love venison, and I'm just saying that raw food added to your diet is like superfood. It's just got all these natural ingredients that are so easy to absorb and alive. It's a live food that you just need to incorporate in your diet, and all that dead food will just kind of fade away. And we know that in the U.S. that we need to have all that heavy-duty meat and diets fade away. So, if Michelle Obama is one to fight obesity, get him on a horse, I said. I was playing polo up in Bellingham, Washington, and it's kind of interesting there is that it's owned by a Dutchman named Emile de Wilde. I got hired to play there. I put my teepee up on the side of the field, and camp out on Friday night, and Saturday morning the games are about to begin. But I got my teepee rolled up, and I'm sitting in the shade there. My horses are tacked up and ready to go. But the guy, Emile de Wilde, he's a wealthy man. His children play, his grandchildren play, which is one of the beauties of the sport, is that you can be on the same team with your grandchild. It's no age limit there. You can all be a family out there going into battle together. It's a beautiful thing. But anyway, he was walking back and forth in front of my teepee organizing the games, and he had a t-shirt on it that said, "If you ain't Dutch, you ain't much."